Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille Show. It's good to be with you. Thank you kindly for joining us. Love connecting with you through the I Love CVille Network. My name is Jerry Miller. Good Thursday afternoon to you. We're live in Charlottesville and in Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille Network. Today, a lot of topics we're going to cover. I'm very much intrigued by this convention versus primary conversation. This according to Charlottesville Tomorrow. Charlottesville Tomorrow does a heck of a job. Charlotte Renee Woods, the government reporter, is very talented at Charlottesville Tomorrow. Bob Good is running for re-election. He's your congressman in the 5th Congressional District. That district is our district here in Albemarle County. Bob Good threw a convention in 2020, was nominated by the Republicans as their guy. 2020, there was a convention. In 2021, the Republican Party of Virginia used a convention to select the governor, Glenn Youngkin, as the GOP nominee. Charlottesville Tomorrow's got a great article about this on their website. The question I have for you, convention versus primary, primary versus convention. 2,000 Republicans this past weekend, 2,000 Republicans picked Bob Good in a convention to be the GOP nominee. The 2,000 Republicans who made that pick represent about 0.2% of the nearly 785,000 people in the 5th District. Furthermore, just 200 of the delegates, 200 of the 2,000 Republicans are from Albemarle County. That's 0.1% of the population, according to Charlottesville Tomorrow. The convention is a small group of people that determine who the nominee for the party is going to be. A primary is more of an up-for-grabs election. A primary, registered Democrats, for example, could determine who they want on the Democratic ticket in the general election. So I find the primary versus convention conversation, cocktail party convo, an interesting one. The convention one, maybe a little cleaner, maybe a little easier to navigate, certainly a lot more time constrained or efficient. The primary, more moving parts, maybe more democratic. It's going to take a little bit longer to figure out the answer. Certainly less control party leadership has with the primary over a convention. 2,000 people determining the Republican nominee is something that I found interesting and wanted to relay to you. We're talking Congress here, and we're talking a second term for Bob Good. And we'll cut to the chase. He's likely going to win. He's running against a Democrat that has very little name recognition. Bob Good has some incredibly passionate supporters in his corner. He's probably going to get a second term in Congress, Bob Good. 2,000 people determined Bob Good was going to run as the Republican Party nominee. I felt the primary offers a little bit more democracy, but the convention offers the party more control over determining who's on the ticket. Think about that. 2,000 people in a nearly 800,000 person district are determining the candidate that's likely going to win this election. The convention winner, it was Bob Good versus Dan Moy in the Republican convention, the winner of that convention was likely going to win a spot on Congress. And with the name recognition and the status of being an incumbent, he's going to be difficult to beat. We'll cut to the chase. That's an election we'll be following very closely this November. All right, let's go to GDP. And Jude, I want your take on this. First quarter GDP declined by 1.5%. That was worse than the 1.3% predicted. The pullback in gross domestic product, GDP, represented the worst quarter since the pandemic started in 2020. So we'll go to the two-shot, please. The first 3 months of this year, January, February, and March, were the worst performing quarters. Was the worst performing quarter since this pandemic started.
Yeah.
When the pandemic started in 2020, everything was at standstill. When the pandemic started in 2020, we were going grocery shopping, and that's about it. And a lot of people that were going grocery shopping were doing it in Instacart fashion, leaving the bags in the garage and changing clothes in the garage because we thought 2 years ago the pandemic and COVID was on our clothes or on our shoes or on our jackets and our pants. Folks were going grocery shopping double masked in latex gloves and covering every aspect of their skin.
It was pretty insane.
It was insane. But this really puts things in perspective. The first 90 days of this year, January, February, and March, were worse than when the pandemic started.
Right.
Do you think about that?
It is crazy, but I think it's just been building. Everything has been building. I read an interesting article the other day about strong U.S. dollar versus weak U.S. dollar, and the problem with the strong U.S. dollar is that it's actually worse for everybody. It slows production and innovation because what ends up happening is foreign countries who are, the U.S. dollar is the world reserve. So foreign countries buy up our money, and they also use our money to service their debt. The problem is that when the U.S. has a strong dollar, globally what it does is that they're basically getting squeezed. You know what I mean? The dollar is worth more, so because depending on how much foreign countries have in reserve, they end up having to buy more U.S. dollars to cover their debt, and it's just like it's a downward spiral. It keeps getting, because they're buying more U.S. dollar, the dollar goes up, and then they have more debt, and they have to buy more, and it just keeps going. The problem for us is that as the dollar gets stronger, it becomes much easier for the U.S. to import products from other countries because our money is worth more, but it becomes less viable we become less desirable as an exporter. So other countries are less incentivized to import our products because our dollar is so strong. So part of what we're seeing right now, I think, is the Fed trying to figure out how to devalue the dollar in order to, get everybody back on track.
The pullback in GDP represented the worst quarter since the pandemic scarred Q2 of 2020. Q2 of 2020, the U.S. was in a recession spurred by a government-imposed economic shutdown, a lockdown, to battle the pandemic. Mm-hmm. We have been saying on this talk show, not just you and I, but the experts that come on this show constantly, that we expect a recession here. Once we get Q2 numbers, we're going to see that we're in a recession.
Most likely.
The fact that the first 90 days of this year represented the worst quarter since the start of the pandemic, unfortunately shows me that we have more sting and pain and hurt in the near term before we have the bulls running wild.
Yeah, before we come back.
And you know I'm an optimistic guy. But we saw Walmart's numbers, we saw Target's numbers, we're now seeing the GDP from Q1 numbers, and it's not pretty.
No.
And I'm not sure it's going to get prettier anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. The Fed, they've kind of dug themselves into a hole by, printing all this money. And at the point where we're at, it's like they want to raise rates, but they don't want to raise them too fast or too much. And there's just, I think no matter which direction they turn, they're met with...
death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
Anything they do is death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, anything they do is, it's a trap.
It's a trap. It's like the, is it the Chinese finger trap?
Yeah.
Where you put your 2 pointer fingers in it, and if you pull real hard at the same time to try to get them out, it makes the
stuck.
trap worse.
Yeah.
Do you know how you get out of the Chinese finger trap?
You stop trying so hard.
Stop trying so hard. You stop trying so hard. I mean, the Fed is in a Chinese finger trap right now.
Except they kind of, but I don't think the answer is not trying.
No, the answer is not trying. The answer may not be, maybe the answer is try too hard on this to get us out and rip the Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Markets are up today, and I found it intriguing that the supply of homes is jumping again. I mean, I'll give you the stat here.
Is that new construction or...
No, listings. This is according to Realtor.com.
Right, so
the
like
supply of homes for sale jumped 9% last week, compared with the same week 1 year ago. Real estate brokerage Redfin also reported that new listings rose nearly twice as fast in the first 4 weeks ending May 15th as they did the same period a year ago. Pending home sales, a measure of signed contracts on existing homes, dropped nearly 4% in April month to month, and we're down just over 9% from April 2021. Folks are rushing. They were late to the game.
You think people are just rushing to get their houses sold because...
I think that's what it is. They're trying to get their house on the market to catch this last wave of potential buyers before interest rates rise so high that it creates a more balanced market and less buyers out there.
You don't think they're worried about finding a place themselves once they sell their house, or do you think people are downgrading?
I think people are downgrading and or moving to different areas where cost of living is less.
Could this be lots of retirees who are saying, hey, look, it's time to sell our house, and now might be a good time to downsize since, we're empty nesters, the kids are gone, we don't need...
I think the right retiree that thinks like this, if you have retirees or baby boomers or empty nesters, they're in the catbird seat. They sell their house, they can downgrade to a smaller home, or they can move to a cost of living location that's more accommodating.
Yeah, because they're not worried about...
work.
Yeah.
Kids in school.
Yeah.
The folks that are not in the catbird seat have young children and a couple of decades left at their current job.
Yeah.
The millennial is screwed. The young millennial, the generations, what are the generations after millennial? We ask all the time. You have a calendar.
Yeah.
Is that Z?
Got it on. Hold on, let me check.
Tell us what the generations after millennial.
Okay, we got boomers end in 64. My generation starts in 65, ends in 80. Millennials go from 81 to 96. Z is 97 to 2012. And Gen Alpha, I guess they're calling it, is anyone born in the last 10 or 12 years.
Gen Z and young millennials and old millennials, they're screwed. They can't move. They have kids. They need 20 more years, 30 more years of work at their job before they can retire. The boomers and the empty nesters, they're retired.
Yeah.
They can sell top dollar.
Mm-hmm.
They can choose to downgrade and spot if they want to stay in the same area and
Shop
walk
around
away
for
with
a
the
state.
delta.
I heard that a lot of people are moving toward, what was it, the state that's getting the most movement into it was somewhere in the middle of, the middle of America.
I mean, pick up and move to Danville. You get 65, 70% less
Or Idaho.
cost of real estate. Literally 70% less in Danville. Buy a massive house or buy downtown. Enjoy the River District, the new casino that's coming, the designated outdoor refreshment area, and spend time outside. Empty nesters and boomers are in the catbird seat, especially if they're willing to move.
Mm-hmm.
And home listings are popping right now because sellers want to catch this buyer bonanza before it evaporates. And rising rates are causing the buyer bonanza to evaporate. Supply of homes for sale jumped 9% last week when compared with the same week 1 year ago. That according to Realtor.com. Redfin reported that new listings rose nearly twice as fast in the first 4 weeks ending May 15th as they did the same period a year ago. You're seeing a little bit of listing frenzy. These are national. As rates go up and as sellers are still trying to get a hold of that buyer bonanza.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see it around here. Every agent we talk to says, what can make this market better? They say more listings. Every agent. Every agent. And speaking of real estate, we introduced a segment this week that worked really well. How do you make it better? Where Judah and I will brainstorm an area of Central Virginia, an aspect of Central Virginia, of Almore, of CVille, and ask the very basic question, how do you make it better? The first one we did was the downtown mall, and that sprung a discussion that pretty much captured and captivated the entire show. This one I want to discuss would be Pantops. How do you make it better? First, I think I need to identify with Pantops the traffic snarls that happen out there.
Well, yeah, which happened. The problem is that Charlottesville, you look at it and it seems like it would be easy to get to like anywhere in Charlottesville.
It's just not laid out well.
But then you start moving around and you realize, okay, literally everywhere I have to go has a bottleneck.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to go to 64, you gotta get on 250, go up Pantops, and there's no shortcut. You just go up Pantops, and eventually you get to 64.
Well, I live in that area, eastern Albemarle County.
Yeah, you've got to get past 64 to get...
So, I mean, a lot of times, there's 3 ways for me to go from eastern Albemarle County, the Keswick area, to our headquarters on Market Street in downtown Charlottesville. I can come down Pantops, down Free Bridge, and take a left on High Street by Riverside. I can come down, that's option 1. Option 2 would be taking a left at Stone Robertson Elementary by the Clifton.
Would that bring you out on 20?
It would bring me out by Carter's Mountain Orchard.
Yeah.
That's 20. You take the back way, it's a long way. It's a very beautiful way. But when traffic is backed up all the way past Glenmore, sometimes you consider that way. The third option is backtracking and getting on Black Cat Road. Black Cat Road to 64, hopping in 64, and then jumping in to the city on the Belmont exit. Going by, was that Clark Elementary in Belmont? That's the third option.
Huh.
The traffic snarl, to Judah's point, and it's a legitimate one, you can make a very compelling argument that the Pantops traffic snarl isn't even in the top 3 worst traffic snarls in the area.
Yeah.
So that comes with the territory. What doesn't always come with the territory is the type of businesses that are in the Pantops corridor. The Pantops corridor is heavy car, vehicle, businesses, a lot of dealerships out there.
Yeah, it's kind of like 29 out by, once it gets kind of commercial.
North of town, yeah. You got a ton of chain restaurants, not much localized restaurants there. Shockingly, you do not have a ton of dining options in the Pantops corridor.
I don't know about that.
I'm telling you, you don't.
There's a Salvadoran place. There's
Salvadorian place. There's lazy. You have some.
Tip Top.
You got Guadalajara.
Yeah.
You got Sticks. I heard just the other day that Lilos Pizza wasn't open. Can anyone confirm that?
Yeah, you had Lilos. There's a
Is Lilos still open?
Sushi place up there.
Let me look at that. Can you confirm that?
Let's see.
I'm going to go to Facebook and look there. We should confirm that. Can anyone confirm that? Pantops Pizzeria Lilos?
Their website is up.
You should put in a phone call off while we're on air. See if they're still open. I know they don't have the Zion's Crossroads spot open.
Never posted on Instagram.
They have, the last time they posted on Facebook, I'm looking right now, was May 2020. So we're talking over 2 years since they posted on Facebook. Call them and see if their Abbey Road location is open. Just say, hey, are you open? We're curious because we love your pizza and we love your brand.
All right, give me a second.
Seriously, are you still on a 2-shot and you're going to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, do it. Still on a 2-shot. Keep your mic hot. Judah's doing some reconnaissance literally live on the talk show to see if Lilos is still open. Can anyone confirm? I mean, I got pizza there. I wanted to say last week. He's calling. It's ringing right now. Live programming at its finest here on the I Love CVille Show with Jerry Miller and Judah Woodcower. You gotta be discreet about this. How you gonna?
Hey, Lilos, we love your pizza, and I just somebody had told us that you guys were closed, and we wanted to make sure you're still open. This?
It's on the phone.
Are you selling it to someone?
Judah's doing reconnaissance. Getting knowledge. I can't wait to hear what the situation is.
Okay. Well,
wish them the best.
All right. Well, we'll wish you the best, and we're sorry to see you go. And man, take care. All right. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Bye.
Are you putting it off?
So
the knowledge was correct.
Did you hear any of that?
No. You got to relay it to us.
They are open today and tomorrow.
And then they close.
And then they're closed.
So the little birdie who told me that they were closed was right.
They are almost closed. And
Lilos
the guy
Pizza
that I
on
spoke to
Pantops.
said that he thinks the owners are selling it to someone else who may be opening a pizza place there. But he told me that Lilos is not planning on opening anywhere else. And it doesn't sound like the owners are selling the business per se to whoever is buying it. But the people that buy it may be opening their own completely unrelated pizza place.
Well, what would happen there is the sellers, the owners of Lilos, because this is the space we're in. The owners would sell the furniture, the fixtures, the equipment.
The ovens, yeah.
The right to do business there. But that's breaking news for those that are watching the talk show. We just broke some news there. We're going to have to turn this into a tweet and put it all over the I Love CVille Network. Relay the breaking news we just scoured. We just figured out here. Please.
Lilos is only open for 2 more days before they close forever.
So explain this to me. You got significant density on Pantops. You got Ashcroft. You got Shadwell, Milton Village. You got Rivanna Village. You got, is it Rivanna Village? What's the townhomes, the condos behind the drugstore on Pantops? You got those Ryan Holmes townhomes. You got a ton of density, a ton of people living in that area. You don't have a ton of local restaurants there. You don't. You have a lot of chains.
Yeah.
You have Jersey Mike's. You have the Chipotle's.
All
you have
the chicken
Starbucks,
places.
You have the Chick-fil-A. You have the Bojangles.
Yeah.
You have Applebee's. You have a ton of chains.
Yeah.
You don't have localized restaurants a lot on Pantops.
Not nearly as you
would think, for
dense
that amount
as
of
it is in
density.
other places. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have it. So ways you can fix Pantops. How do you make it better is the theme or the topic of this particular aspect of the show. Theme 1 would be more localized opportunity for business in the Pantops corridor. You got dealerships and you got chain restaurants. That's what you got over there.
I think it needs more than just adding more businesses, though. Because getting out of Wawa is a nightmare.
Getting out of Wawa is a nightmare.
And so if you start
getting out of Wawa is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Cutting across 250 is a nightmare.
Oh yeah. So anytime you go to, you see this anytime you go to Guadalajara, anytime you go to Tip Top, it's that okay, I'm going up the hill, I want to turn left. It's like sometimes you got to wait minutes for that stream of cars coming down the hill to pass before you finally get, a space that gives you enough time to
play Frogger.
Yeah.
And they're doing massive construction, lane expansion around the interstate, around 64 on 250. So it goes from 45 to 25.
Yeah.
And then it does this awkward traffic pattern right around the 64 entry.
Oh, you mean because they're doing construction and so there are those pylons?
Yeah.
You gotta all of a sudden you gotta slow down, you gotta jump around this curve.
Wall.
And then
head straight.
And then merge and slow down to whatever the slowest car is moving.
Bill McKenzie, Tip Top is a local success story, no doubt. We got to highlight Tip Top, no doubt about that.
Oh,
wow,
love Tip Top.
We love Tip Top.
If
Tip Top Terry's a great guy.
When I'm thinking of brunch,
Tip Top's great.
That's the first place that comes to mind, and that's usually where I end up going.
You do the Tip Top over the Nook? What are the brunch places in Charlottesville that you think of immediately with brunch?
Well, usually when I'm going to brunch, it's after church.
You're with
often
Mom and
with
Dad.
my parents, and so if we want brunch, we'll usually just go to Tip Top.
Tip Top is great.
They're fantastic
great.
there. They're fantastic there because you can go walking up and find 30 people standing in the entrance, and you're like, oh crap. And you've got a table within 5 minutes.
Tip Top is the sit-down version of Bodo's Bagels. The food comes out fast, it's efficient, it's well organized, it's cheap, tastes good, you leave happy.
I like Nook. I
love the Nook.
That never comes up that we. I think when I'm
First Watch at Barracks Road is good too.
That is good.
Have you taken
that does have a longer wait.
Have you taken Big Jib and Ann there?
Yeah, we've gone there. I went
First
there
Watch?
when my sisters were in town for Christmas. The three of us, my two sisters and I went there and got some mixed drinks and some brunch. That's a good place too. But that's a place where you'll see 5 people sitting outside, and there'll be a 25-minute wait to get seated.
I wonder, you also shouldn't, it's more expensive, it's pricier. But
Yeah,
the buffet at the Mill Room
Not
at Boar's
horrifically
Head,
so,
the buffet at the Mill Room at Boar's Head is worth trying.
really.
It's going to run you like $25 a head. It's all you can eat. It is damn good. I believe it's only on Sundays. It is excellent from a brunch standpoint. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I'm a big buffet fan.
Yeah, buffets are,
Buffets are great.
because you never have to worry about, is that going to be enough?
Yeah,
When you're looking at the...
you just overstock your plate.
Yeah.
Every time I do it, that's one of the things I miss the most about the Omni Buffet on the downtown mall that I still believe has not come back yet. It was a prolific buffet. The Boar's Head Buffet is robust and deep with their offering.
Nice.
I very much like the Mill Room. But back to Pantops. The traffic issue is obvious. The non-localized businesses is obvious. The construction causing traffic pattern changes is obvious. We just broke some news on the I Love CVille Network. Lilos Pizza has today and tomorrow before it closes permanently.
I may have to go get a
You might have to get a pie today.
couple slices today.
You may consider the half-baked pie, where they bake the pie halfway, then they put instructions on a piece of paper atop the pizza box, let you take it home. You set the temperature to what they suggest on the instructions at home, and you finish the baking for another 6 to 10 minutes, and it comes out of your oven completely warm. Half-baked pie is good. You're saying you don't want to do any work. You're the type of guy
I'm saying I don't need a whole pizza.
Well, and you're the type of guy who goes to the grocery store and he doesn't want to bag his own groceries, right? Do you
What?
go to the self-checkout line when you go to the grocery store? Or do
If
you
I
go
can.
to the grocery store checkout line when there's a team member checking your stuff and bagging your groceries?
I will always choose self-checkout if I have a chance.
My wife always chooses self-checkout. I'm not a self-checkout guy. I don't want to go to the grocery store to bag my own groceries.
I've usually got like 6 or 8 or 10
And you're
items.
shopping for one. I'm shopping for
Yeah.
when I
Yeah,
am
yeah.
shopping.
If I
She's
had
gonna be like,
a
"Jerry, when are you
full
shopping?"
shopping cart full of stuff, yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to go to self-checkout.
Do you want to bag your own groceries?
I don't care.
I don't want to bag my own groceries.
I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't want to bag an
I'll
entire.
pump my own gas,
an entire-
but I don't want to bag my own groceries.
You gotta pump your own gas
You
unless
got to in Virginia
unless you go to California.
or New Jersey. Or
But
New Jersey.
but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to bag an entire giant shopping cart full of groceries. But when I've got a basket and some milk and orange juice and some fruit and whatever else, it's,
You're when you're going to Food Lion to buy groceries, you buy a lot of Mad Dog 2020.
oh yeah, that's most of what I buy. No, I mean, I usually go for specific things. Like I'll go thinking, okay, I'm almost out of milk and orange juice, or I need to get some whatever, and so I'll go and probably get like 1 or 2 more things than I actually went in for.
Are you a once a week grocery shopper or a multiple times a week grocery shopper? Some people go every day.
Usually, I'm multiple times a week, but if I had to go every day, I'd probably murder someone.
Vanessa Parkhill. The only way Pantops bottleneck goes away is with another bridge somewhere.
Yeah.
Didn't I hear talk about that on your show a while ago?
I don't remember that, but I would put a bridge between like Meade and whatever that street is that State Farm was on. That little back.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Let me see if I can find that. Wasn't it State Farm Boulevard?
Yeah, probably.
I think it's State Farm. State Farm Boulevard.
Yeah.
She also adds this to the show, Vanessa Parkhill. Chains may continue to dominate Pantops due to 64 interchange. Those recognizable names will tend to draw travelers versus unknown locally owned places. And that's definitely what it is. That's definitely a large part of it.
I can't remember the last time I saw what was actually advertised at the
On those
Pantops
signs?
exit.
Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, Applebee's.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are advertised. To get signage on the interstate You have to jump through some hoops. Not all the restaurants get signage.
Right.
There's a lot of hoops you have to jump to. It's tied to hours of operations and the meals you serve.
I always thought that they had to pay for it, but that's not based on any actual evidence.
It's tied to hours of operation and the convenience offered to travelers on the interstate. Because the signage, they want to accommodate as many drivers as possible.
Right.
So locally owned businesses that have limited hours of operation or days off don't often get the signage on the interstate.
That's
That's fair. Yeah, you don't want someone traveling through Virginia and Charlottesville to be sent to a restaurant that's only open 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah, especially not the Pantops exit, because it's not miles or anything, but it's a fair.
It's not right off the interstate.
Yeah, it's a fair jump from getting off the interstate to like finding anything that you'd actually want to stop at.
I've always thought the Gondola system would work really well in this area. Having some kind of gondola system over Charlottesville and Albemarle County, where people are commuting not on buses, not on trolleys,
That would be wild.
but on rail in the sky, where you could get on a gondola somewhere in Pantops, and it would whisk you to the courthouses, UVA
Do gondolas
grounds.
really whisk though?
Gondolas move. You know what a gondola is, right?
Yeah, I've never thought of them as whisking though.
How would you describe what action verb does a gondola do?
Slowly sway. I don't know.
Slowly sway?
I mean, I've never
That's
thought
an
of them as
adverb
whisking.
and a verb.
I honestly
One
don't.
action verb for a gondola. Yours is sway.
Yeah, I've never.
Sway is side by side, side to side, not north south.
Yeah, well, when I think of gondolas, I don't think of them like speeding up a hill. I think of them like slowly swaying up a line.
What gondolas?
I could be wrong.
What action verb do you gondolas? What action verb, listeners and viewers, do you have for a gondola?
I'm gonna look up what's the fastest gondola.
The fastest gondola will shock you. I bet you the fastest gondola is going over 25 miles an hour. If I put the over-under at 25, would you take the over or under?
I don't know.
What's the fastest gondola? I guarantee you it's over 25.
Genting Skyway
How fast?
reaches a top speed of 21.6 kilometers per hour.
Okay, now you have to, how many 21.6? Travis Hackworth in Danville has a slow crawl for a gondola. And Kevin Yancey in Waynesboro, Virginia says, you do have to pay for the VDOT sign. He's right, you do have to pay for the VDOT sign. And even if you have money for the, hold on one second, even if you have money for the VDOT sign and
There's
are
no
willing
guarantee
to pay for
they'll put you up there.
not all, because our clients at Burrito try to get on the VDOT sign for their Zion's Crossroads location before they closed it down. And VDOT would not approve Burrito because Burrito didn't have breakfast option. So they couldn't get on the sign, and Nook was willing to pay for it. What is the fastest gondola out there?
Just under 13 and a half miles per hour.
Okay, so I was completely wrong. I put the over-under at 21 miles an hour, and I said there would be, or 25, and I said there would be over 25. The fastest gondola is 13 miles an hour? What gondola is that?
Genting Skyway in Malaysia.
How do you spell gondola?
Gondola.
What is the fastest gondola?
Of course, I'm getting other.
Yeah, I'm seeing other gondolas than that. Maybe I shouldn't ask you to do this on the fly during the show. But can you imagine a gondola system in Charlottesville and Albemarle? The gondola system in Charlottesville and Albemarle would solve a lot of problems. And it doesn't have to be a super it doesn't have to include a boatload of stops. It just could be strategic with its pickup and drop off. Like a gondola on Pantops, a gondola stop for downtown, one for UVA, one for 29 North, one for Southside CVille. That would crush it. That would absolutely crush it. As you give us more intel on the gondola, I want to relay this story to the viewers and listeners. Do you remember Michelle Wie, the golfer?
I don't.
I know you're not a huge sports fan. That's why we're going to do this on a one-shot if you're doing research on the
Okay.
gondola. I still want you to give me intel on the gondola, because I think you're wrong on that being the fastest gondola out there. There's going to be a faster gondola than that. But as you're finding that knowledge, I want to relay this story to the viewers and listeners. Michelle Wie, who was once the youngest player to ever qualify for an LPGA event at age 12, announced today that she plans to step away from competitive golf after next week's U.S. Women's Open at Pine Needles in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Michelle Wie, once a darling 12-year-old that captivated the world by qualifying for an LPGA event as a 12-year-old. She is now 32 years old, Michelle Wie, and she's married. She goes by Michelle Wie West now. She's 32. She's won 5 times on the LPGA Tour, including 1 major championship, the 2014 U.S. Women's Open. When asked if she was retiring, she stopped just short of calling it retirement and said, "I'm definitely not ruling anything out." Michelle Wie West gave birth to her daughter, McKenna, in June 2020. Michelle Wie West told reporters she has struggled to keep up with the physical demands of playing on the tour. She said this, "If I do play a lot of golf, I'm exhausted and I'm in bed and I can't lift my daughter, and that scares me." Michelle Wie West has earned more than $6.8 million in career endorsements and sponsorship money so far. She won the Women's Amateur Public Links Tournament at 13, becoming the youngest player, male or female, to win a USGA adult event. Now she is considering retirement from the game she grew up playing, golf. Fascinating stuff. You find the gondola speed for me?
I'm still seeing speeds topping out around or near where the other one was.
All right, let's call it. Bill McKenzie doesn't like the gondola idea. He calls it a hurl inducer.
Yeah. And
make them vomit instead.
And the problem is you'd still have to drive somewhere and park.
Well, it would be a park. It would be a park, and it would just be like the bus stop.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, you know, if all of Charlottesville again was more easily walkable, then it might.
That's not going to happen.
Then it might make something like that more viable, because you could park somewhere and then take a gondola, a bus, a jaunt, whatever, to the center of the walkability, and from there you could go anywhere.
We talk all the time on the program. How do we solve the housing issue? And one of the answers comes up is going vertical, going up, going into the airspace, and creating housing density that's more vertical.
Mm-hmm.
How do we solve the traffic issue? It might be the same way. You go vertical. Solving the traffic issue is not going to be more traffic on the road. Solving the traffic issue would be figuring out a way to get bodies out of cars on roads. I mean, you can make an argument that maybe if people, carpooled to their commute, that would get less traffic on the road, but that's not going to happen.
Right.
People aren't going to do that. An aerial transportation system gets cars off the road. Will it happen anytime soon? No. Do they exist already? Yes. A gondola system is no different than an L train.
I think we just need more pressure valves on the roads around here. More ways to bleed off excess traffic pressure onto like side streets or alternate routes. I think about where I live. If I want to go to like somewhere on 29, it's really not, like, as the crow flies, it's really not that far.
It's not that far, but it takes forever.
But I've either got to go all the way up to all the way up Rio and cut back on 29 from there, or all the way over to hydraulic and cut back 29 that way. There's like this, anywhere I want to go, I've got to go the wrong direction and then come back.
Tell me about it.
And I think there's a lot of that around here, and it really, of course, it blocks everything up when everybody has to go the same direction to get to, 29.
I mean, I feel the same way. The bridge she's referencing is the Rivanna River pedestrian bridge at Woolen Mills. Peter Krebs was on this program earlier this year to talk about it. That's going to be more of a pedestrian bridge, but still a bridge nevertheless.
Yeah.
Oh, we got CNBC in the heartland talking about inflation. We got GDP that's crawled to a snail's pace, now as bad as it was when the pandemic started.
I don't think it's going to go. I mean, like I said, until the dollar starts to weaken, we're kind of stuck here.
Well, we got China on lockdown right now. That's not helping things.
No, of course not. Ukraine not being able to get grain to Africa is also not helping anything.
Fertilizer everywhere. It's not helping things. I mean, all this transitory stuff is turned
not
into
so
fairly
transitory.
permanent. I mean, what is transitory?
Well, I suppose some people were fooled when the Fed first started saying that inflation was transitory, but I can't imagine that everybody was fooled by that. I mean, nobody really thought that inflation was just going to disappear.
Fed did.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, they just said that because they didn't want to scare everyone.
Kevin Higgins says Michelle Wee West considering retirement reminds him of Jennifer Capriati, one of the youngest to ever have a sports contract with Reebok. I think at 11, he says. Her life went into free-for-all after tennis. She seems to have rebounded now, and she was #1 in the world. I can't even imagine the pressure these kids go through. Viewers of the game expect results and wins. These are children. Well said, Kevin Higgins. Give him some props for that. Judah's got a question from Neil Williamson. Judah, do the residents on the side streets want that through traffic?
I'm sure they don't. I'm not saying it's a perfect answer, but if we could find ways to build roads, I don't know. I think that if we could find ways to connect areas without, just like sending traffic through, someone's backyard, then that would be ideal. I mean, there's land around here. They made the Meadow Creek Parkway. I think there are ways to connect some of the bigger byways around here. I don't know that it'll happen. But yeah, he's right. Nobody's going to want.
None of the side streets want traffic going through them.
Right.
None of them do.
No.
And that's happening. Travis Hackworth is watching in the Danville area. One of the ways to encourage new local businesses in the Pantops area would be to find a way to do something like the RDA in Danville. The River District Association, RDA, has launched its entrepreneur program once more. Entrepreneurs seeking to open brick and mortar businesses in the River District in Danville may register for the program, and they will be required to attend all sessions of an entrepreneur boot camp, an intensive workshop that will meet once per week for 6 weeks beginning in January to teach participants a full slate of skills and information that business owners need. Participants that complete boot camp may then elect to participate in pitch night to compete for cash and other incentives. Once the pitch is complete, the entrepreneurs that successfully present the most viable and sustainable plans, including capital investment and job creation, will be choosing to move forward and they're opening their new business.
Is this a game show?
I mean, it's part game show. I would love to see a Albemarle County and City of Charlottesville joint venture with the foundation of economic development and business acumen improvement. The city and county in joint venture fashion target an underperforming area of the city and the county. And they do a JV, joint venture, that attracts businesses to the area to open locations through an incentivized program.
If I'm not mistaken, there are 4 opportunity zones in our area.
You've been studying up about opportunity zones.
I mean,
Sounds like you've been reading some Reddit boards.
No, I don't think I think I was just curious about opportunity zones around here, and I looked it up and saw that there were 4 different zones. I do not know enough to speak ably about on the subject.
I mean, what would be great? And like, how long has the Kim's Market location been for sale on Cherry Avenue?
Yeah.
And I don't think the city should get into the business of buying real estate, but they can do a public-private partnership. I mean, we just had, was it James Barton?
Yeah.
On Today Mañana?
From Vault.
From the Vault CVille and from, what's it in X Park that he has? Studio X.
Okay.
So on the morning show we do a show at 10:15 in the morning on Thursdays, and it's called Today y Mañana. It was hosted by Alex Erpy. Alex Erpy had James Barton on the show, and James Barton is the owner of the Vault CVille and Studio X, a co-working place. And he described his real estate as flexible office space.
Mm-hmm.
I would love some kind of flexible office space or a similar concept birthed in the Kim's Market spot. And get this, where Neil Williamson just shared the list of Charlottesville, Virginia's opportunity zones.
Okay.
Would you like to know where they are?
I've got a vague idea, but yeah.
Well, this is hard to find.
What's that?
I shared it on my personal Facebook page in the comments section.
Yeah, I clicked the link.
Do you see where the 4 are? 2 in Charlottesville City and 2 in Albemarle County. The link's on my Facebook page.
Let's see.
I mean, you just have to do a little digging and deeper dive into this. And then on the jump pages, it'll show you where they are.
View larger map.
That map is tough to read.
Yeah.
But it does have the zones by marking. Go to my facebook.com/Jerry Miller now. Look in the comments section for a link from Sir Neil Williamson, the president of the Free Enterprise Forum, and an all-around nice guy, a man who knows how to throw a party, Neil Williamson. Love that man. So why, you want to see the opportunity zones weaving into the mix?
What's that?
You want to see the opportunity zones weaving into the mix? Woven into the mix?
Well, they're called opportunity zones for a reason.
Yeah. You're saying they're not being prioritized enough.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what people are doing there. I don't know what. Usually, opportunity zones are places where you can, where people can invest, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't have the money to invest in that kind of thing right now. But is there any push to get investors to get money into those places? I mean, I imagine if we started putting stuff up there, like Cherry. Right now, Cherry is like, why would you want to buy that place?
Cherry and High Street.
Yeah, but if we started to develop that area, it could be great. I mean, it's like the dairy building, you know, that's kind of revitalized that corner of the city.
Exactly. Good Lord, just got Kevin Higgins sent us a link. Ray Liotta has reportedly died.
Oh.
67 years old.
Wow.
The Goodfellas star. He's
It's a
played a
shame.
ton of mob roles. He's fantastic. I love Goodfellas. Goodfellas, one of my favorite movies of all time. Thank you, Kevin Higgins. Evidently, he died, 67 years old. Multiple outlets are now reporting this. Oh, life is fragile. Oh. And I'll tell you, every parent is on edge right now
Oh, I'm
after
sure.
the school shooting in Texas. And I haven't touched on this today. I haven't touched on it this week because it's still very raw and vulnerable for me as a father of a 4-year-old. But there is nothing more unnerving and nothing more worrying about your kid, your children, your son, your daughter, your sons, your daughters, can create a feeling of hopelessness. Because your whole world are these little people.
Yeah.
And as parents, all you want to do is protect these kids as much as possible with every aspect of your being. And pushing them out of the nest and having them go to school is difficult. Because
I'm
for
sure.
most of their life, they've been under your thumb or your watchful eye. And school shootings, I just find them so, the lowest of the low.
They leave you feeling helpless.
Yeah. The most evil of the evil. And they leave you feeling helpless.
Yeah.
Like, as a parent, watching something on television, knowing you can't go to that school to rescue your son,
Yeah.
I couldn't even try to characterize what that feeling is like. I see our son, fall while we're playing, or he's playing sports, and he scuffs up his knee, and he feels pain, and I see that pain on his face, and I just want to take that pain away from him and put it on me.
Yeah.
Having an AR-15 armed 18-year-old
And now they're putting on body armor.
running around a school with body armor on
Yeah.
and an unlimited supply of ammunition is like legitimately the worst nightmare for so many moms and dads out there.
Yeah.
And I don't have any answers.
I don't either.
I'm not going to get on a soapbox. I'm not going to make this about guns.
Right.
I'm just making this about the hopelessness and the helplessness that you feel as a mom and dad when your kid is at school.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of schools around here are doing lockdown drills,
That's good.
which is, a shooter's on campus.
Yeah.
Let's lock down. This is what we do. And I think the lockdown drills, like you said, are good. But what can be going through the mind of like an elementary student when their class is going through a lockdown drill?
Yeah. Not to not to belittle what's going on with in that, but we've had similar. There were times when kids were learning to hide under their desks in case there was a nuclear missile.
Yeah, during the Cuba Missile Crisis.
And there are parts of the country that have to teach kids how to react when there's a hurricane or a tornado. So
I feel like that's something that can be explained to the student much easier than a lockdown
I don't
drill that's associated with an active shooter.
yeah.
Travis Hackworth says this: "I'm the father of a 4-year-old, and my wife is a principal of an elementary school. It's a scary thought about what the potential could be if someone wanted to take their frustration out and has the screw loose."
Yeah.
Yeah. In so many schools around our area, Travis, don't have school resource officers anymore.
Right.
Because the defund the police movement the left,
Yeah.
demanded that the school resource officers, the SROs, be removed from school.
Yeah.
So now you legitimately have antiquated structures that are free-for-alls for people with bad intentions. Vanessa Parkhill says this in Earlysville. Are some of the logistical challenges a result of subdivision redevelopment? Getting away from the traditional grid design is nice for the residents of those neighborhoods, but does not facilitate flow of traffic in the area. Even Forest Lakes North, South, and Hollymead eventually connected so those residents can travel within their neighborhoods without going to 29. It even took some time for Forest Lakes North and Hollymead to connect.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Oh, man. All right, that's today's show. Parents, we're all feeling that hopelessness and helplessness. We're all feeling that hopelessness and helplessness right now, parents. And we feel that because we love our kids so much. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, it's got to be more difficult for an 18-year-old to get an AR-15. First thing the shooter did on his birthday was get an AR-15. And he did it legally.
I mean, I don't have an answer to that, and I don't want to get into the politics
I don't want to get into the politics either.
but I mean, you start getting into questions about, well, do you have to prove your mental competency in order to buy a gun? I mean, do
you think you should prove your mental competency to buy a gun? The guy left multiple posts on his social media that he was going to kill his grandmother. Then after he killed his grandmother, he left another post that he was going to go shoot up the school.
The question is, though, like, who's the watchdog that's keeping track of people's Facebook posts and their social media presence? And
it's got to be at time of trying to buy the gun.
But
it's very different.
It would require
It's very different buying a handgun versus an AR-15.
I understand that.
Very different. And I'm 1,000% for the right to bear arms. So are you. I know you are.
Yeah. Not that I have a gun, but
Not that I have a gun either. But they're a German Shepherd. But there's a significant difference between a handgun and an AR-15.
yeah.
Significant difference. We can make a confident statement that if this murderer was armed with handguns instead of an AR-15, there would be much less carnage.
I don't know if that's necessarily true.
Shoot less bullets.
I don't know if that's necessarily true either.
It's definitely true. Anyway, arguing semantics. Kevin Higgins in Greenwood says this: teachers and staff came to work every day during the height of COVID, thinking they may die from the disease. Now they come to school wondering how they can cover the most students with their body in a shooting. These nuts have guns. Our teachers literally have their bodies, and our kids have lunch trays to protect themselves. This is America. What is going on? And then he closes with, forget the gun argument until it's solved. Protect our schools from these shooters. Schools are our target. We have TSA for flying. We don't have anything for our kids.
I read someone suggesting that we start building when we have to build new police barracks, build them close to schools, and vice versa. When we have to build new schools, build them close to police barracks. That way, well, I don't know. That may be part of the answer.
Travis says instead of spending money to update outdated schools, we should spend money and put it towards new schools with adequate safety options, protocols, and features in play. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Somewhere where you could just, like with a button, lock down all the doors.
Lock down all the classrooms.
Yeah.
Lock down all the schools. The school, the door, the classrooms should be bulletproof classrooms. You should be able to lock down a classroom and the door can't get broken down, tempered glass or bulletproof glass, and all the windows on the outside of the school should be bulletproof glass.
Yeah.
And that lockdown classroom should be, for lack of a better phrase, a safety bulletproof cell.
Yeah. But
That seems doable, doesn't it?
I mean, I don't know. Because remember, we were just talking about how Charlottesville is going to get $75,000 for a school restructuring, whatever it was called. But the point being that it's not like we can just start building all new schools with.
We don't have unlimited money.
Yeah.
We don't have unlimited money. Bill McKenzie, for years, we would file it out into the hallway, sit down on the floor with our backs against the wall, but your head between your knees, and all of us would say, we're gonna kiss our butts goodbye because there's no protection.
Yeah.
For me, a design, you need to prove knowledge and license for driving, but not shooting.
It's fair. But that also doesn't stop people from committing vehicular manslaughter. People get killed because of idiot drivers all the time. Just pointing out that that's not necessarily
Doesn't solve everything.
Somebody could prove their mental competency one day, and then a year or 2 years later, they're dealing
Not
with
mentally competent.
Yeah, whether it's a brain tumor or just someone going crazy.
Yeah. And that shooting, everyone hasn't realized. It's another story in the news cycle that is pushing down Russia-Ukraine. And we talked earlier this week that Russia-Ukraine is so far buried in the news cycle of mainstream media that Americans are losing interest in the Russia-Ukrainian war and are becoming apathetic.
And that's what always happens.
And disenchanted with it. It's an ADD culture. And if it doesn't stay in the news cycle, people forget it. And the Associated Press poll that was released earlier this week found that more Americans were concerned about inflation than they were concerned about the Russian-Ukrainian war.
I think maybe we're flipping the the cause and effect here, though, on its head, because I think people's fears are largely sculpted by the media.
Yeah, 100%.
If we're and so if they know that we're getting bored of hearing about Russia, or if it's just not eliciting as much of a response, then it's not clickbaity enough, and they'll move on to whatever they think will keep eyes on their stations, on their websites, and so basically, of course we're tired of hearing about Russia and Ukraine. Because
I'm tired of hearing about COVID. I'm tired of hearing about inflation. I'm tired of hearing about supply chain. I'm tired of hearing about interest rates moving.
And
I'm
yet,
tired of hearing about labor.
and yet you watch CNBC all day.
I'm a news junkie.
I'm just pointing out the.
I'm a news junkie. So are you. You like hearing about the news. Certainly more so since you've gotten involved with the talk show. I'm a news junkie. But I'm tired of hearing about those storylines.
Yeah.
And what do you not see on CNBC all day long?
Russia?
Russia.
How much was it on before, though?
Dude, beginning of this war was nonstop. All it was Russia. Now it's not even in the first block. And it might not even make the second block of the 9 a.m.
Well, as I mentioned before, I think a lot of the Ukrainians have, the ones who aren't staying, the ones who decided to find some more. Well, I don't know if they're just moving out of the way of the Russian army, and but refugees have been streaming out of Ukraine, and so I would imagine that it's largely the two forces that are still fighting it out over various cities. So in one way, I can kind of understand why the news is less is focusing less on Ukraine, just because there are less civilians involved, and now it's kind of just a war of attrition. Who can last longest between the two fighting forces.
Look what's on there now. Rates rising.
Rising mortgage rates.
Rising rates. That's the show. Mom and dads, hug your children. Tell them you love them. And treat each day the right way. What's the saying? Yesterday is history.
Oh, man.
Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift.
That's why they call it the present.
Call it the present. We'll close on that. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift. That's why they call it the present. For Judah Wickower, I'm Jerry Miller. This is the I Love CVille Show. So long.